Mr. Secretary General, I would like to ask you fundamentally one question about the future of world governance. It is, how do you see the role of the United Nations system, and particularly the Security Council, in relation with the new bodies such as the G20, or even old new bodies such as G8? And to be more precise, do you see any competition between the G8, for instance, and the group of permanent members of the Security Council?
We are living in an era of multiple crises, starting from threat of climate change, and now with global financial and economic crisis. In addition to this, we have been suffering from food security, energy security, and the poverty issues. Now, we need to have concerted and coordinated efforts by whole international community. Not a single country or group of persons, however resourceful, however powerful one may be, cannot address this. And that is why United Nations role is important. Of course, immediately after financial crisis, the international community has gathered among 20 countries, representing both developed and developing countries, to address this financial crisis. This G20 summit has evolved as the premier economic forum in addressing climate change, in addressing international economic crisis. That is quite a commendable one. But at this time, we need to ensure that there needs to be more coordinated way in addressing all the issues. Now, the importance of global governance has been heightened by this international financial crisis. Something has been done in the form of World Bank and IMF reform, but not much has been done. There needs to be much more needs to be done. The share of voice of developing countries is going to be a little bit increased, possibly by 5% or so. That is something encouraging one. Now, in addressing financial security and socio-economic and regional conflict issues, the members of a permanent Security Council, they have been playing a very important role. Now, all P5s, they are participating in G20 summit meeting, but not all of them participate in G8 summit meeting as such. G8 has been working many years since a long time ago, and they have been mostly addressing financial as well as political issues. Now, there have been some discussions what to do with relationship between G8 and G20. I understand that member states have not yet clearly defined their role. G8 and G20, they are meeting annually, but there seems to be a certain division of role, while G8 being composed of most powerful and richest countries, they have been dealing with not only economic, financial issues, but major political issues, security concerns. That have been quite commendable initiative and efforts. Now, G20 has been mostly focused on financial crisis issues, how to consolidate their budget and their financial crisis issues. And now in Seoul summit meeting, they are going to take up the issue of a development agenda for poor and most vulnerable countries. The Security Council reform has been the subject of at least 17 years during the last 17 years. The member states have taken this Security Council issue to a much elevated way, having brought it to the General Assembly. The General Assembly is now in the process of addressing this issue a more focused way. I hope that considering the vast changes in international political scenes, there should be a change and reform of the Security Council. I believe that all the countries are of the view that Security Council should be reformed in a more democratic, transparent, and representative way. That is almost a consensus. But how to make a formula where the countries will be democratically or representative way represented, that is something a member state will have to continue. In any way, P5's role is very important in addressing financial issues and not only security issues, because if we do not properly handle these world economic issues, this will cause political instability, let alone socio-economic instability. Then it may lead to sometimes security concerns. That is why I expect that the permanent members of the Security Council can play also a very important role in G20 and G8. But you should also remember at the same time that the G8 and G20, they are organized in such a way that they were not authorized or mandated by any particular organization, by international.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a legitimacy issue. But while there is such kind of an issue, we hope that the G8 and G20 will play a very important role so that the economic growth and political stability can bring all these benefits in addressing the plights and concerns of many developing countries.
So to conclude on this, and thank you very much, there is a legitimacy problem for the G20 and the G8, but there is an efficiency problem for the P5. And the question, of course, is how to improve both legitimacy and efficiency. And in that respect, what do you think of President Sarkozy's ambition? Well, this year, the Koreans, Korea has chairs the G20. Next year, it will be France. And one of the goals that President Sarkozy has set for his own presidency is precisely to accelerate the reform of the UN system. In your position today, do you think this is a realistic ambition for a one-year presidency of the G20?
I had the meeting with the President Sarkozy on the margins of General Assembly last month. We had discussed all the matters of our common concern. Of course, the G20 is one of most important agenda which I have discussed with him. He was quite ambitious and quite energetic and dynamic in his plan to lead this G20 in addressing all these financial and economic issues. And also development issues. And he emphasized and assured me that he will very closely coordinate with the United Nations. In fact, when there is an issue of legitimacy, there is no such organization in the world except the United Nations which have such a legitimacy and the whole spectrum of views of the world. Therefore, it would be very important that G20 members fully coordinate with the United Nations That is why the role of the United Nations in enhancing the global governance has been emphasized during General Assembly. In fact, the main theme of the 65th session of the General Assembly is to reaffirming the central role of the United Nations in global governance.
Which is in itself a remarkable point, because the fact that the UN system remains so legitimate, even though there are some very serious problems about representativity and about efficiency. So I think this is quite encouraging in a way.
Yes, there is some question of efficiency in decision-making process, because the United Nations is composed of 192 member states coming from all different backgrounds, different ideas and different challenges. However, United Nations has been making always important decisions pertaining to world affairs with a sense of flexibility and mutual understanding. And in the end, United Nations member states have always been very committed to addressing the all global challenges.
Mr. Secretary General, I want to thank you very much for this extremely interesting contribution and for your presence and contribution for the third edition of our World Policy Conference. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for your kind invitation to me to participate in World Policy Forum organized by IFRI. I am looking forward to make my own contribution and engage with other participants, how we can work together in enhancing global governance to promote and achieve the major goals of our common challenges.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.